Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today, continuing our Don't Go Into the Water month, previously known as Shark Month, but we have evolved beyond sharks. We are covering...
Taking a break from sharks.
Yeah, until there's more...
decent ones.
Yeah.
To choose from.
Yep. But until then, we are covering 12 Feet Deep. And before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. So today, using my the mug that V made, my condition is chronic, but my ass is iconic. I am drinking the Republic of Tea Passion Fruit Papaya Tea. It's got black tea, sunflower petals, passion fruit, papaya, and pineapple flavor.
And I am drinking Republic of Tea's Relax, Rooibos, Dandelion, and Citrus Tea. And it has...
That's a good one.
Organic red Rooibos, organic cinnamon, organic orange flavor, organic dandelion root, organic orange peel, organic ginger root, and organic vanilla flavor. It is caffeine free.
But as always, thank you so much to the Republic of Tea for allowing us to continue to do what we love. And for our tea sippers out there, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. Ooh, I heard the squelching noises. I'm going to have fun trying to edit that. Or allowing...
Squelching noises?
Yeah, as I was talking, I just... Oh.
You need a drink.
It's a pet peeve. No, I have too much liquid.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways. So for the summary. And just watch out. I know you have to have the mic on the side, but try and talk into the middle as much as possible. Otherwise, it will sound distant. But okay.
Can we get on with it,
Thank you,
madam?
boo. All right. So for the summary. Two sisters must make it through and survive the night when they are trapped under a fiberglass cover for in an Olympic-sized public pool. And that is by credit of me because I actually did the summary. So anyways. For the other people that haven't known that we've been ripping off the IMDb summaries are like, wow, you're full of yourself. But anyways.
Okay,
so
shall we?
For entertainment, I would give this a 6.75. I will say just to note that the movie was inspired by multiple true stories that the director and co-writer found together about people being trapped in pools overnight. Unfortunately, I know there's one where it happened in Australia, and unfortunately that girl did pass from that incident. So essentially, it came from... This movie was inspired by two parts. First, the director was absolutely terrified of being trapped in a pool. It's a deep-rooted fear of his. And then also, I guess for storytelling reasons, they found the news stories about people actually being trapped in pools. Because initially, whenever I saw this movie, I'm like, oh, this is total BS. This would never happen. But then I'm like, oh...
Validated.
Then you realize how stupid people can be as far as maintenance workers maybe not double checking. Yeah, sloppy.
Not necessarily stupid, just
sloppy. Yeah, because it's
complacent.
I was telling Jess off camera, it's if you're doing a job for 10 years, you're going to get sloppy.
A little lax.
Yeah. And that's when mistakes happen, unfortunately. Just a random fun fact. This movie was actually shot in only 14 days. It was shot in multiple locations, but like for 14 days, that's pretty good for the quality of movie it is. The reactions of the characters are pretty realistic and reasonable in the beginning. Towards the end, while I still consider it realistic for those particular characters, they are a bit out there. Like, I feel like some of the decisions were not maybe thought through. Yeah. And then the relationship between the sisters is very well shown. Like, it's one of those movies where it's like these characters are stuck in this very stressful situation, and since they have nothing else to do and they're trapped with each other, the emotional traumas and burdens start coming out. And so it's just one of those movies where you're just sitting with the characters while you're trying to figure out how they're going to get out of that situation, you're also learning more about the characters. And that's how these movies use character development, so you can like fully like understand. And then of course, like towards the end, it's like they do have some level of resolve. As it's like as they make it out of the pool, they also kind of like have a finishing of their character growth in the movie. But
there's a little redemption with one of them too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like for me, the reason why I did a 6.75 is there's just a lot of frustrations in the movie, which are more in the realism scale. Thank you. Yeah, so in the realism scale, I'll be touching more on that, but just like the overall having the janitor be an ex-convict and she's manipulating them, just the frustration of like feeling like the main characters are trying to get out, are doing the best they can, but you're like, I want them to do more. And then it's like, and then you're like, what are the chances that a convict would be like, you know, unreformed convict would be working in that job and be like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of you while you're in this situation. It's just, anyways. So, what would you rate this movie for entertainment?
I would give this one a 6. Like, it's a solid 6 for me. It's all right. I like the story itself. It's interesting. We don't see too many of these. So it was a bit different.
Yeah, I like the unique situations to pick characters and see what happens.
Yes. And I actually really find that I enjoy the movies that there's like one setting. It reminds me of like Rear Window or Rope or something like that, where it's just like one place. They don't have 50 different areas that they go to.
Well, I feel like also gives them more of an opportunity to focus on the characters rather than like the sets.
Exactly. You're focusing more on the story and on the character development instead of where are they going now.
Yeah.
So you can still get a whole lot of story out of it for just a small area, which is really nice. But there is a lot of frustration.
Yes.
With some of the decisions and a little bit with the scenario itself.
It is, like, I don't know if it is for you, but for me, it's one of those movies that it makes me scream at the TV. Like, I'm so mad.
Yes, a little bit. And we'll get to some of that in the realism. But a lot of it was fairly believable. There are just some parts of it that seem a little bit stretched.
Yeah, like the characters themselves and then the situation are totally in the realm of plausibility, but then, you know, as the movie evolves and it kind of gets a little shaky.
Yeah, a little bit. So, most of the issues that I had were personal things that just
You didn't agree with their choices?
I didn't agree with some of their choices or how they would act or their reasoning for certain things, which, again, we'll get to in the realism, but, yeah. It just, it was just slightly off. Like, it's one of those where it had potential, and it could have been a lot better, but there were just some aspects of it that it irks me enough to drop it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the sister that's having a lot of problems and went to rehab, when that one scene where she's holding the sharpened thing to her neck. Seriously? Really? That's the time? I get it's a really stressful situation and she's feeling really, really low. But she has also expressed the need almost the entire time of wanting to get her sister out and herself out. So to get to that point and not realize that, oh, if I die, my sister's probably going to go into diabetic shock and die, and I won't be able to do anything to help.
Yeah, the way that I saw it is, since she was just, in the beginning when they first got trapped, she was just shitting on her sister, like, this is your fault because you had to have your stupid ring, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, I think it was after the sister found out that she had thrown the ring into the pool. I think at that point in time, she is like, this is all my fault. My sister is going to die because of me. I might die because of me. I don't want to burden her anymore. I've been a burden for my family almost all of my life. Yeah. And so it was her, like, trying to... But it's like, I understand that for that situation, like, right then and there...
This is, like, it wasn't the time.
Yeah, I mean, she shouldn't be killing herself anyways.
Well, no,
but...
and if you are having thoughts like this, please seek help.
Yes.
Please reach out to others. But that was not the time.
But it's like...
I feel like it'd be more of a burden to her sister if she did that right then.
Yeah, but it's like...
Let's just heap it on the pile, shall we?
Yeah, I know. But it's like, as someone... I mean, as someone who used to have suicidal thoughts, like, I can see where her logic... As crazy as it is, like, the leaps and bounds, I can see why she was thinking that.
Don't get me wrong. I can get her mindset completely. I've felt those kinds of things myself. But, again, not the place. Not the place or time. Again, if she's that worried about being a burden to her sister especially, then maybe get her out of the situation first. Especially feeling guilty about them being in that situation. Like, maybe help her out of it and then deal with those feelings. Because...
Yeah, like, logically
hopefully
speaking...
in a more healthy way.
I definitely agree, but it's like, everybody deals with those situations differently. And she was already at a low...
I know. So, it was just extremely frustrating to me.
No, I totally get that.
It felt a little out of place as well. So... that part kind of just...
It did, like, from a movie aspect, it did feel like they were just trying to throw in extra drama.
It really did.
That didn't necessarily need to be there.
Yeah.
It's like we can't... While I can understand character-wise why she would maybe want to do that, from a movie aspect, it just kind of felt like they were like... Oh, they're just like, in the water, so we gotta add more drama.
I was about to say, it felt like added drama for drama's sake.
Yeah.
So. But yeah. That's what I got for entertainment. I've got more for realism.
So for realism, I did have a lot of difficulties with this, because, as I said before... It is one of those movies where it starts off very plausible, but then as it goes down, you're like, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, there's some things that are just a little stretched, and other things that I'm like, no.
Yeah, so it's like...
And there's a human element to it too that I think is part of the reason why I'm having such a trouble with it.
Yeah. So, after doing some serious thunkling, I
like that word.
I got it from Markiplier because he did like a quiz video and he was like terribly sick and he was like doing all these leaps and bounds and he's like, I got it right, and then he got the question wrong and he's like, I thunkled too hard, and ever since then I'm like, that's a word I'm gonna use. But anyways. So for realism, I might have to find that video because
I feel like I might have seen that, but it's been a while.
It's like he's got a blanket and he looks miserable and he's just like, oh, it's this like brain magic, and then he's like, oh no, I thunkled too hard. Anyways, so
very dedicated. Normally, if we're feeling under the weather, we're like, let's reschedule.
Yeah, but for realism, I gave it a 3.5. So what brought it up a little bit more is the general premise is possible, especially since there wasn't just one random story. There were multiple stories.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people finding bodies in water tanks in hotels. Like there's multiple stories about that happening. Yeah. Because it's one of those things where it's like, you're like, oh, that's totally an urban legend. Like, that doesn't exist.
No way. No, there's...
And then you're like, oh, no.
there's actual, valid, verified stories.
And it's like, and you don't know how traumatized to be to know that stuff, like, happens. It's just, yeah. Anyways,
well, a lot of urban legends are based in fact, too, so...
Yeah, like, a lot of the time it's, like... exaggeration from my understanding.
Most of them are, yes, but there are some that it usually starts with just a little grain of truth, at least.
But the major cause of frustration in the movie was the janitor lady was like absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it was extremely exaggerated.
Just how much she was manipulating them. And because it's like, in my mind, I'm like, if I were an ex-convict,
Did you get caught for jaywalking? Like,
because I'm not. Anyways,
I can't imagine a situation where you'd go to jail.
Anyway, I said if I were. It's like, I would think that it would be more reasonable to make a good attempt to get them out. And especially when she's like, I can't find anything to break the glass. It's like, you can find something. There's fire extinguishers. It's like, there's stuff you can find to break.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fiberglass isn't
she had options.
Easy to break, but there's a lot of heavy stuff around.
Oh, yeah.
But...
she could have also called the manager dude for the code.
Yeah, called the manager, called the police. At worst case scenario, like if you can't find anything, the police sure will.
Yep.
And if she's on parole, then that might make it look even better for her. Yeah. But anyways, it's like, if I were going to manipulate someone that's in that situation, I would rescue them first and then be like, hey, I'm really down on my luck. Can you, like, pass me a check for helping me, and but
some kind of reward.
Yeah, but just how like unrevocably evil she was acting towards them, and it's like I could see the janitor taking advantage of the situation, but not to that extent.
It was a seriously low blow.
Yeah, like maybe like stealing cash out of the wallet.
I could see that.
But yeah, doing like subtle stuff. Mm-hmm. Not like outright like, oh, I'm stealing.
Taking the ring?
Yeah, and then the phone, all
That's
sorts
messed
of
up.
dumb stuff. Yeah. But I will say, as a part of the janitor taking advantage of the situation. I could totally see the sisters continuing to give her stuff because they're desperate. They're like, maybe this is the one thing that I can give them. Like, well, maybe once she knows that she has everything that we have of value to give, she'll help us. So unfortunately, I can see them doing that out of pure desperation.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And then Bree saying that her blood sugar is off. In the end of the movie, she is given a red-colored glucogen shot, which is actually medically accurate. So I thought that was interesting.
I wondered about that, but I didn't think to look it up. So thank you for that.
Yeah, this time around, I actually did some research and digging with this group of recordings, so I might actually have some educated input for once.
I am proud of you.
Yay! And then the biggest frustration about this movie, and the one thing that would have caused this movie to never exist, is they tried so hard to grab the grates at the bottom of the pool multiple times in the movie, and it wasn't until at the very end that they were finally able to break it loose. It's like, I'm sorry, it's like if they both were pulling, like if they both went down and were pulling one grate at once, they should be able to have gotten it loose if at the end they're able to get it loose. It just...
They never went down there both at the same time.
Yeah. It's all, they were like, I think they're taking turns, or at least one sister.
The one sister was very dismissive of the idea until it was literally their only option left.
Yeah.
And she was smart about it. She did use the top or jacket or something as leverage. And that did help. So.
But it's like, it's because her sister was already like going to die.
Yeah.
So she did have desperation, which is like, we didn't. So I think.
Could have been over a lot sooner.
I think maybe what they're trying to say in the movie is, oh, they work through their issues, and that's what caused the sister to be desperate enough to like try the great idea instead of dismissing her sister. But it's still like, if I was trapped in that situation, I would want to try anything and everything as soon as possible. So that way we at least know what we tried, what we know won't work. Like,
I know they tried to make it sound at first that she was also scared of her hair getting stuck again. Like her hair getting pulled toward the...
But that was, it's like, then have her sister, like, right
careful
there with it. Yeah.
and don't get your hair near it, like you don't lean your head that close to it, then you should be fine.
Yeah, so that was...
It was a very weak excuse for that one.
Yeah, so honestly, that's the most frustrating part of the movie. It's like, yeah, the janitor definitely adds some extra drama that's just like, makes you want to scream. But the fact that they had the grate all along, and they're just, yeah, just, it drives me nuts. Anyway, that's what I got for Realism.
So I had a close rating. I give it a 3.
Okay.
So, but I agree with everything you were saying. The human elements that I can kind of see happening are also like the manager guy, Jigsaw.
Yeah.
He made a big stink about them taking forever and needing to close. It's a holiday weekend. You need to get out. But then he doesn't double check that they're actually out. And when he's leaving and locking up, their cars and everything are still in the parking lot. So he doesn't like go back in and be like, hey, are y'all still here? Nothing like that. Just leaves. So, I mean, I understand sometimes people just leave their vehicle in the parking lot and get a different ride or something.
You're going exactly where, because it's like if your car is stalled or your battery is dead, you're going to have to leave it wherever it died.
Yes, but if their car had stalled or battery died, they would still be there trying to figure out the situation, usually. Because he left really soon after.
Yeah.
Like, really soon after. He was booking it. Which, holiday weekend, I get it. When someone is closing a place down for the holiday weekend, they want to get out. They want to go home.
I guess the girls' stuff would have been on the bleachers.
They were. It was partially hidden, though, from the bleachers. Like, it was down in between the two. So I can understand how he didn't really notice it. I get that. The janitor lady barely noticed it. I think she noticed it after she heard the phone ring or something like that. So, that part I get. That part I understand, but the fact that he made a big stink about it and then didn't check just to make sure that they were definitely gone, because he would potentially be liable for it if anything happened.
Yeah, it's like I took it as him being sloppy, especially since we know that stuff like that has unfortunately happened. But no, it's like anyone. Like, if you have a checklist of things to... If you have a checklist of things to do, you know, checking for people's stuff, for people looking in the pool. Because it's like, the water's clear. You just need to stand on the edge, look down.
Walk over to it a little bit and take a glance.
Yeah.
So, that seemed a bit out there for me. I don't quite understand the janitor lady's reasoning for some of the stuff that she was doing. Like, how she thought she was going to get away with selling the ring to a pawn shop or anything.
Yeah, normally they're pretty strict. Like, they know.
They are, but also once the girls did get out of there, they could go to the police about it and file a claim.
Yeah.
And they know who it was.
Yeah.
And she'd be even easier to find because she has a record. So...
Well, I think the lady was very much, like, thinking that they're going to die.
She had intentions of letting them out. But if they did die and she ended up selling their stuff and using their cards...
It was a little confusing because the lady did kind of go back and forth on like, oh, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you. But then there were parts where she's like, well, I'm not going to let you out because if I did, then you would let the police know and then I'd go back to prison.
Well, if they died and she was selling their stuff, then the prosecution would have a really good case of, oh, it was her fault.
Yeah, either way, she wasn't being very smart.
No.
Because even if she let them die, they would still be able to figure out, oh, who was working that night. Like, your shift is literally, like, is time and dated.
Yes.
Like, and then if they, like...
Well, and then she looked directly at the camera in the corner and went and turned it off.
Yeah, it's like, are you serious? They're like, oh, we wondered who turned off the camera. Oh, look.
It wasn't just a malfunction either, because she just turned that one off. So, if other cameras are working just fine, then,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I also didn't understand why. I understand the frustration and the sentiment behind why the sister stabbed the janitor lady in the ear. But the reasoning behind it and why you would actually do that?
Yeah, it was just pure human emotion, like, want revenge.
It was just pure malice.
But as far as, like, helping them get out, nope. Probably hurt themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Hurt their chances for sure.
100% hurt their chances of her letting them out. Because, no, why would that motivate her to assist them in any way? No. I did also look up, shortly before we recorded, how fast it would take for the girls to potentially get hypothermia and die. It really depends on the temperature of the water and how quickly the temperature is dropping. It sounded like it was dropping fairly quickly, but it is a big body of water. Like, it was a big pool. And it does hold heat for a decent amount of time.
Especially with the fiberglass over it and
Yes.
it being inside.
Yes, that helped. And the heaters stayed on until the lady turned them off. And she never turned them back on. So I looked it up. The average temp for a public pool, it's usually a little cool. It's in the 80s, like mid 80s. Around, I want to say it said like 85 to 88. So, little chilly. But they could survive in that for a good while.
Yeah.
Depending on their systems. The diabetic sister would have had a bigger issue with it, most likely.
Yeah.
With the temperature dropping, though, especially when she turned on the pumps to circulate everything, that would have gotten rid of a lot of heat. So let's say it dropped it down to like the 60s. They could still survive. I want to say it said anywhere from like 2 to 12 hours or something like that. It was worse odds than if it dropped into the 70s, but better than, if you're out in the wilderness in the freezing cold and the water's, 30 to 40 degrees.
Yeah.
That's usually a matter of minutes when hypothermia sets in.
Yeah.
So, but they did expend a lot of energy. So it really depends on that one, and that's why I didn't quite count off for that. And I did appreciate that they did show in the movie that they were cold. And that they were trying to get any kind of heat that they could by staying close together or by moving a lot. Now, moving is a double-edged sword with it.
Yeah, because it's like you feel warmer, but you also expend more heat.
Yes, you expend more heat, and you also expend a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And you want to conserve as much energy as you can.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how long you're going to be in there. And treading water kind of sucks. Thankfully, they had a shallow end and could stand. But standing for that long, after having swam in the pool for however long.
Yeah.
It's been a long day for them.
Yeah.
So, it was just, there are some things that are, it's pushing it a bit.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but the rest of it was fairly believable. I feel like they expended way too much time and energy trying to break it with that other piece of fiberglass. Because clearly it wasn't doing anything. So, find literally anything else. Try the grate, maybe. Like, humor your sister. You might be mad at her. You might feel guilty about the situation being your fault and all. But 2 people pulling on it is going to have a hell of a lot better chance than just one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating because I know from a movie aspect, I think they're just trying to show like how toxic their relationship was and how they're like, how the sister finally getting the grate at the end was them like overcoming that. But it, from a survival perspective and a logical perspective,
Yes.
It's very frustrating. But it's like there are some people that are so stuck that it's like I could see a life-threatening situation. They're still like, nah,
It was a pride thing at that point.
Yeah.
Which was just infuriating. But that's what I had.
Yeah, like overall, I will say it's a decently intense movie. Like you definitely feel the intensity of it, but it does feel pretty forced in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In a lot of the situation that they put them through. And again, especially since like
that's the thing that really bugged me was the janitor lady not trying hard enough to get them out.
Yeah, like for me, it was the janitor lady in the grate. Like the fact that the one thing that they needed to get them out of the pool was in the pool the whole time.
It was there the whole time.
Like, ah!
Well, that and okay, I forgot about this. The sister, when she finally did get the piece of grate out and broke the fiberglass. She then stuck her arm up through the jagged area.
Yeah,
and
no.
cut the crap out of her hand.
Like, if she had, like, gone deep enough, she would have bled to death.
I know they were trying to make some kind of parallel to the sister's injury and scars on her arm. Because they even said, now we're even. But she could have easily just widened that area.
For real.
With the grate that was still in her hand.
Because that was probably going to be way more efficient than her trying to push through.
You're going to need to make that area wider anyway to get out and get your sister out. So why not just do the damn thing, then get out? It's still plausible that she could have cut herself while getting her sister out and herself out.
Yeah, but
even
it was
with the
very,
widened area.
in
but
your
that
face.
seemed very forced.
Yeah, very forced.
There was no reason for her to just stick her arm up through the jagged area.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Grr.
But thank you so much for joining us today, and please comment on what you thought of the movie. Especially on this one, I would love to hear other people's thoughts on it. If you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea and keep up to date with our content, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Discord, and most places you listen to podcasts.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share our content. If you'd like to support us monetarily, we do have a Teespring and a PayPal, or we have our affiliate link with Republic of Tea available. It does not affect the price of the tea. It just allows us to continue to do what we love. And you can find all of the sites mentioned linked below. And until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.
Bye.